I know what you've come for. You've come for the chess. I think I can do that. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. So we have a Title Tuesday that just got played earlier today. And so I have Wesley So versus Tuấn Minh Lee. It's actually a pretty nice game, man. Not too long. Nice and short and sweet. So, of course, all my people from the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Vietnam, I will say come on ban. If you guys are ready to go, homie, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. Man, so we got the move E4. Best by test, Bobby Fischer said. I know somebody who likes Bobby Fischer. We got the move E5. We got knight to F3. All very super common stuff. You know, when you do see E4, E5, almost always, probably 90% of the time, you're going to see knight to F3. Just attacking this lonely pawn on E5. And we do see knight to C6, just defending that pawn. We kind of have a branching point here. Kind of, you know, how do you want to go about doing things? Simple development, which, I mean, it's actually a lot sharper than it seems. Bishop to C4, you know, you are tickling this pawn quite a bit. And in some situations, knight to G5 can definitely come, backing that up. We do see the move of bishop to C5. We do see the move D3. And we have the Giuoco Pianissimo. But as you guys always know, these are not Berlins. These are not quiet games at all, even though that's what it means. A very quiet game, Giuoco Pianissimo. Anyways, we do see the move D6. We got C3. You know, we don't want any pesky knights coming up in these, up in my kitchen. So we got C3, just making sure that we don't have none of that. Also, we are trying to make sure that in the event that we want to, you know, retreat our bishop, because sometimes you see knight to A5s coming, you know, you got a little pocket here for your bishop to settle down into. We do see knight to F6. We got bishop to G5, just pinning that knight down. We do see the move A6. We got knight B to D2, and then we do see bishop to A7. And bishop to A7 might look a little bit strange, but you are anticipating correctly that at some point this D4 pawn push will come, and we definitely don't want it hitting our bishop here on C5. So we just nestle it nice and quiet, like you know, back into bishop to A7. We do see bishop going back to B3. We got queen to E7. We see the move H3, and then we do actually have the novelty of the game, which is knight to D8. And you know, to be 1000% honest with you, I can't quite call it, man. Knight to D8 really doesn't do anything. You know, in the position that we had before, you know, we really don't need any support for bishop to E6 to come out because we've already moved queen here. So moving knight back to D8, I mean, it doesn't really support the bishop push. It's really just kind of like a non-move. It's probably kind of one of those moves that you kind of make to just throw off your opponent. And that's why it's a novelty. But it really doesn't accomplish really anything. So, I mean, like I said, I can't really explain it to you. Those are my thoughts. We do see the move D4 now, like I was talking about. We got pawn taking D4, pawn taking D4. And then we do see the move H6. And it's actually kind of a critical position that we get into here. I'm going to show you what was played in the game, but then I'm going to show you what the computer wants. What the computer wants is a little bit ugly, I ain't going to lie. We do see bishop going back to H4 in the game. We do see the move G5. Highly committal. Because if we're going to be castling queenside for black, I mean, you're kind of damaging your structure just a little bit. We do see bishop going back to G3. But backing up, like I said before. We saw the move H6, and the computer really, absolutely loved the bishop back to E3. And it is actually a pawn sacrifice, but I'm really not feeling it. Knight takes E4, knight takes E4, queen takes E4 castles. And, I mean, you've given up a pawn. But, I mean, the thing is, like, black is about to castle, so they're not, like, going to get caught in the middle. So, I mean, this is just pure computer play. That's probably why we don't see it. But like I said, going back to what we saw in the game, the bishop did come back down to G3. We see knight taking E4. You got to get out of the center, homie, because look at this. Look at the queen. Yeah, it's not nice. So we do see castles, and we do see knight taking G3 and pawn taking G3. And you definitely have some downsides if you are white in this position. It is much better for black, about half a pawn's worth. Explaining that, if you notice, black has a really nice pawn chain all the way across their board. They do kind of have this little bit going on over here in front of where their king might go. But, I mean, they do have a solid pawn structure. For white, you have an isolated pawn on D4, and you have these doubled pawns right here. And so, you know, ideally, you do not want to have that kind of a pawn structure going into an endgame. So that is why definitely the computer is favoring black in this position here. And white is definitely going to be trying to get something rolling on these open files right here. We do see the move C6. And we actually see queen going to c2. And super obviously, we're like, hey, bro, I'm going to move this rook over here and your queen's going to get trapped and die. But it doesn't happen. It's not quite that simple because as you guys knew earlier, you got a knight and a bishop that can both cover on e6, which is what we're going to be seeing. But we have actually reached a position right here. There is a small detail in the position that, you know, kind of requires you to try to play a little bit positionally here. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video and try to guess, there is a really, really nice move that black can play here. Go ahead and do so. Okay, so explaining it just a little bit. If you are black, right, and you are noticing, hey, man, you know what? Like, this rook is about to swing over here for sure. This rook is up here on this file. We got this bishop over here hitting this this point 2. There is a lot of activity that white kind of has going on, and it's a little bit harder for black to kind of, you know, deal with all of these threats. Or is it? A move in the position that is really, really nice is the move d5. Now, d5, as you guys can probably see, completely shuts out this bishop from the position. Like I said before, you did have a lot of heat going on this f7 pawn, and this bishop was definitely one of the culprits behind it. And so, you know, we do have d5 just basically just letting the bishop bite on the rock. So if you did guess that slight positional move, you would understand, of course, like I said, rook coming to e1, you have blocking all day. So you are good to go there, and then you're going to be getting castled, maybe queenside. But this does a really good job of kind of shutting the bishop completely out of the game. So that is definitely something that is nice. We actually do not see that in the game. We see a very human logical move, though. We see the move g4. And you're actually asking some serious questions to white. Like I said before, I mean, this rook is going to be coming over here. So, I mean, you're going to be blocking it some kind of way anyway. So you're not really worried about that. But you, like I said, have put white in a very serious situation. Like, do you want to move this knight somewhere and abandon this pawn? Or do you want to triple your pawns in front of your king? Let's say no to triple pawns. Like, we definitely don't want all that going on. I hate triple pawns, bro. Like, I can't remember the last time I had them. But anyways, we do see the move g4, and we actually see rook a to e1. But like I said, you have so many pieces you can block with, so we do see knight coming down to e6. Of course, you weren't looking at this so many moves ago when you moved knight to d8. But I mean, it kind of serves a purpose, gets it back into play. But it does allow a little bit of a hole on the f5 square. And you guys can kind of see that knight to f5 is looking actually pretty vicious. King slides over to d8. We do see knight going to f5, hitting this queen. But we actually see a nice little in-between move, and that is knight takes d4, hitting black's queen, but you are hitting white's queen, and you're also hitting a rook if you are able to get that move in. So the knight does take on d4. We see bishop taking d4, and then we do see king sliding over to h2. And we do see the move bishop to e5. And something I'll say about the position is, it is definitely a little bit better for white in this particular situation. But, I mean, black definitely has chances. So it's not like it's just completely lost. It's just slightly favorable for white here. We do see knight going to c4, adding a little bit of pressure to this bishop right here. But, I mean, even if you want to, you can play f6. And basically, this bishop is going nowhere. But we do kind of have a light threat of knight to b6. I mean, we really probably don't want to get these pieces forked. Because you probably do want to keep your bishop paired with this type of an endgame. Bishop does come to e6. We do see knight taking e5, pawn taking e5, and then we do see rook going to rook taking on e5. Now, one of the things about the position is, yes, black is definitely ahead by one pawn. But the trade-off is, number one, this king cannot castle, and it's really kind of stuck in the center of the board. These rooks aren't really being utilized as much, and you can see that white pretty much has all their pieces in play. So, I mean, it's definitely white for choice, even being down the pawn. Rook slides over to e8. We do see queen going to d2 at check. The king goes down to c7, really good move. And then we do have a nice sneaky queen to f4. The interesting thing about this position is it's actually defendable by black if you make a specific move. That move was actually not made. We actually see king to b6 in this position, and this does allow white quite a bit of play, and Wesley So capitalizes on that. But going back in the position, we did see queen to f4. So you guys probably noticed that you do have some discoveries along this diagonal, but what better way to take care of that than to shift the queen over to d6 And that is definitely something we can see. You'd probably see rook to d1, and then bishop would be going to d5. And it's really interesting how both of these pieces kind of did this right here. Interesting. But we do not see that. Like I said, we did see king going to b6, and this does allow queen to e3, and we actually see the move c5, and then we have the explosive craziness of rook takes f7. And it might look kind of strange at first glance because you're like, man, wait a minute. Like, isn't f7 protected? Kind of, but not really. This is the major problem that you have in this position. Queen taking c5 is checkmate. Whenever you have situations where a king is like, has, you know, two pieces, one above and one on the side, whether it's like two pawns or two pieces or whatever, it kind of puts them in this type of a box to where the queen can actually come right in the face of the king, take over this diagonal, and then take over all of these other squares. It's a very, you know, like, you know, positional, not positional type of mate. It's a common type of mating idea that you see in games. It is in this position that Lee actually resigns the game. Now, these are the problems that you have in this position. Number one, like I said, you absolutely cannot move this queen because the queen really needs to protect this pawn. So moving here wouldn't really be absolutely great because then you're just taking on, you know, e6. So you really can't move the queen anywhere. So obviously you cannot do this because this is just absolutely checkmate. So the computer literally says, hey man, you know, the only thing that you really can do, bishop takes f7. But I think you guys can see the problem with this move. Bishop takes f7. Why is my queen attacked by this rook, bro? What's going on? Yes. Oh no, my queen. Rook takes e7, and the computer's like, bro, you need to play this way, bro. Like, it sucks, but you got to play this way. And you would pretty much end up in this position as kind of a nightmare. That's just way too much material as white. I mean, you got a bishop and you got a queen. No, absolutely not. We're not doing that. So like I said, in light of all of that, it is why Lee resigns the game. Because, I mean, when you see rook takes f7 land on the board, you don't have nothing you can do, bro, at all. So, man. All of my people in the Philippines, I would say mabuhay. Kamusta na aking makaibigan. Let me see. Masaya Kama Kitty Kang Muli. I appreciate seeing you guys very much again. Oh man, it's morning time over there, so maganang umaga to you, maganang gapon, because it's about 7 o'clock in the morning over there, so, you know, rise and shine. Anybody who is coming from Vietnam, I will say Jiao Mui Nui. And I think, like, it's like Ban Quai Hong. I think that's how you say, how are you doing? Something like that, man. But that's what I got for you. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by, and I'm going to see you guys next time.